Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy early start to this Saturday morning over here as we get prepared for the first day. It's the first day of April. No April Fool's bullshit over here. I absolutely hate that day. Oh my God. We need to absolutely nuke it. But there is plenty to discuss on the very high term timeframes. Why is that? Because the quarterly did close, and that essentially sets into motion a lot of higher term timeframe dominoes, which likely to influence price action for the next few months to come. Anyways, other than that, I do want to let the people who were sent emails about the algo whitelist who were accepted that you have less than 1 day now to respond. There's just a few of you left, but if you don't respond, then we will give your spot to the next person up. Anyways, other than that, I should also let you know that the premium features on the Krown Chain application are going to be sundowned. That's right, they're getting sundowned, whatever the hell that means. No, it means that they're going away like the sun, which then comes back, but it comes back in a different form. And more importantly with that, the price will be changing. It'll be slightly higher, but I do want you to know that if you're already in the premium as it stands, you'll retain that price as long as you continue to be subscribed to that service. And then of course you can also get the first month for free if you follow the directions in the link in the description below. All right, sweet. Let's just jump right into it, starting off with a follow-up of yesterday's short-term time frame analysis. We were looking at a likely bounce based off of the Joule setup and then also the HPDR setup. I'll just go over the Joule setup right here because, you know, they were very, very similar actually. And it was this. Anytime that we do see that the hourly Joule on CME in this case gets below 35 and then turns white, that initiates an entry condition. And if we go ahead and backtest this over the past, I think 3 years, we get about 400 trades, and that did have a slightly higher probability of a bounce. In fact, the HPDR indicator had a much higher probability in the low 70s versus this one at just below 64%. But ultimately, the bounce did indeed occur. We were looking for about a 2%, a little bit above 2% bounce based off of both of the HPDR and the Joule light setup right here. And in this case, what do you see? Well, of course, we got about on the actual high of the profit-taking candle, about 3% move right there. Closing just below 29,000 bucks. So ultimately, yes, looks like that one did play out. And we move on to the next one, of which it's time to now get into the very, very high term time frame charts, which we'll start off with the quarterly right here. So again, the quarterly, obviously we only get 4 of these each and every year. And well, the last one that closed last night, very fucking important here. Why is that? Because several things did indeed occur. One, and I wouldn't say this first and foremost, but number one, we do see that Bitcoin is now trading back above all major moving averages in this case, and on a pretty powerful quarterly dildo right there, actually. Anyways, moving on now, we do see that there is 1, 2, 3 drives of hidden bullish divergence come off of the last few lows. So that would be this low over here coming in from, of course, July 2015, connected with this low over here in January of 2019, and then this presumed low over here coming in from October, November, December of 2022, of course. So putting all these puzzle pieces together, you know, yes, it does appear that, well, that amongst many other things that we've been looking at does suggest that, hey, you know, next move probably still, you know, these next 3 months probably does try higher. I don't think that we've seen the top of this rally just yet. Moving on to the next thing, we can also see that quarterly BBWP volatility is at one of the lowest levels that we've ever seen it at. What's interesting about this is that all of the low volatility levels on these very, very high term timeframes have correlated with macro bases leading into a macro breakout. So I wonder if I actually already have them on right here. No, I do not. But you can basically see it right here. You can see it right here. You can see it potentially over here as well, to be confirmed maybe on this next quarterly, which would be the actual breakout. Now, I would hold reservations on that. You know, I'm not that bullish, to be fair. But you know, one thing before the next, obviously, and you know, just take it 3 months at a time in this case. Anyways, moving on to the monthly, which also closed last night, because it is quarterly and a monthly at the same time. Well, we can see a few things of interest right here. One, we do see that hidden bullish divergence on the monthly time frame continues to carry on, which was giving us upside biases over the past few months here, and that still does appear to be active. And then 2, we can see that the monthly Joule continues with its upside posturing as well. The official signal, or the official setup, happened over here in January, confirmed over here in January, I should say. And of course, that has been following through for the past few months now. What's interesting about this particular month is that the DMI continues to support upside with that green color in the background. Also, it should be known that the last few macro lows, again, 2015, 2019, and over here in this case, it would be early 2023, the jewel does suggest that there is, or not suggest, it does show that there is hidden bullish evidence, again, of that three-strike variety going all the way through, in alignment with the hidden bullish evidence on monthly RSI, in alignment with these reads that we do see on typically contracting volatility over here on the monthly as well. So you can see how all these time frames kind of work together, but in this case, yeah, this is kind of what we do expect over the long term for generally macro lows coming in on Bitcoin. So I want to be very, very clear yet again in talking about the long term here. So when I'm talking about the long term, we're not talking about anything in the short term. There's going to be ebbs and flows. Obviously, Bitcoin could very easily even come back down to like $26,000. That would be fine. But here's the thing. Just because this may be a macro low here does not mean that Bitcoin can't come back down and retest somewhere reasonably close to it. In fact, some of the more higher term time frame charts that we've been looking at that we won't go over today, but we will very likely go over tomorrow, do suggest that that is actually quite likely, meaning that, continuation to the upside first, and then perhaps a move back down maybe later this year, something like that, or maybe even early 2024, perhaps somewhere into the mid 20s, something like that, is not out of the question still, but still in the more relative short term, as far as the higher term timeframes go, upside still more likely here. Anyways, moving on to the next thing, we can see that the monthly stochastic oscillator continues with this upside momentum as well. Here's the thing, this month has two major things going for it. First and foremost is that stochastic momentum will continue with upside momentum as long as Bitcoin is closing above 16,750. So that's so far more than $10,000, opening the month $10,000 above that pivot seems decent. And then also it's going to have a chance to close above the moving average here that I do have on the stochastic oscillator for the first time basically since July of 2021. And also the reason why this is relevant is because anytime that we have seen the monthly stochastic oscillator come off of these extreme reads in the bearish control zone over here, and then cross above that moving average, well, those have correlated with, those have correlated essentially with like big momentous moves, in this case, obviously to the upside. So what I've done here is I've done a couple things. One, I've marked off the hidden bullish evidence on this. And then two, what we can also do is we can move these green vertical bars to where the stochastic oscillator actually cross the moving average. So I'm actually moving it in this case, and potentially over here as well. It's going to have a chance to do it this month, to be fair. And what do we see? Well, we do see that coming off of these green vertical bars, in a lot of cases, Bitcoin was like just getting going out of that long-term accumulation zone, at or near the macro lows. Again, doesn't mean that things can't, retest somewhere reasonably close to it, but ultimately, the low was in and retests were for long-term holds, to be fair, or at least in hindsight. Anyways, yes, we've gone through that now. We are 8 minutes into this video, and I think maybe I'll wrap up on this particular one over here. Another chart that closed last night. This is the lowest time frame we've looked at thus far. It's a damn weekly for CME. Anyways, the reason why I'm bringing this one up is because CME did indeed close above the mean band right here. That same mean band that's been rejecting this whole damn thing since more than a year ago, at 27,600. So it did close above the mean band of the Gaussian channel here on the weekend, on the weekly for CME. So again, spot price action we want to see follow through as well. That will very likely happen on Sunday, and seeing as CME closed 28,740 closing price, very likely we're going to see spot price action do the same thing. And the reason why that is relevant, or the reason why I'm bringing it up, is a couple fold. One, seeing as Bitcoin hasn't closed above the mean band in such a long time, that would be an obvious change of behavior. And then two, anytime that we have seen Bitcoin on these higher timeframes close above the mean band, it's typically gotten a free ride to the top side of the Gaussian channel. So in this case, I'm actually going over to a 5-day time frame on spot price action just for the history of it, because we obviously don't have so much history on CME. But ultimately, this one does show the same thing as kind of what I'm trying to illustrate, in the sense that, yes, the Gaussian channel turning red, Bitcoin losing the bottom side of it, crawling its way back in, and then closing above the mean band. Again, free ride to the top side, and now, both these last ones busted on through as well. Free ride to the top side. and free ride to the top side. In fact, in hindsight, all of these eventually did break out as well. So it would be one suggesting that Bitcoin is likely, granted CME's closure, to trade up to the top side of the Gaussian channel, which is mid $32,000 now. And then two, actually all the prior times have resulted in a breakout above the top side of the Gaussian channel. At that point, that's where the rally typically does find, a major high, and then like a major crash after that. We're talking like anywhere between 20 to 40%. So depending upon how high Bitcoin gets first, that's going to dictate, the long term as to where reasonable pullbacks would be expected. Just looking at weekly CME right here, we can also see that there is a nice gap Ola coming in right around about $36,000 as well. So perhaps something to be aware of long term. But again, yes, closing above the mean band, big deal. And I suspect that Bitcoin probably does continue on with the rally into April. And speaking of April, April typically is one of the more bullish months actually for Bitcoin or just markets in general. May, however, not so much. So it would kind of make sense for April continuation. May, go fuck yourself. May, June, go fuck yourself, right? So I think that's kind of where I'm at for right now. Again, we only spoke about higher term timeframes here. Maybe we'll just briefly throw on the herpaderp indicator. No, it's already 11 minutes. That's fine. That's all good. I know that most people don't even listen that long anyway. So all good, man. So yeah, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off. As always, I want to be wishing you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.